Wrestling with wrestling's past and present.
How old were you?
I was -3.
JR is trying to contain Jim Ross.
McFlurry,
It's Mick Foley. Definitely not his, the barn burner that Leaf Cassidy and Tiger Alley Singh was, but, we'll leave that there.
We digress.
God, I hope that storyline ends soon.
And 6 to 8 weeks later, they'd mail you a freaking magnet.
Yep. You may know him as the Red Rooster.
Hager kept making out with his wife. It was weird. So then, I'm waiting for them to put the Selena Vega on a pole match for that to be. It is in the mail, my good sir. Oh, it wasn't Paul. Giving us a reason to come here and listen to ourselves talk.
Absolutely,
and then you can listen to us too. We're off to a rough start.
This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Fulis.
And I'm Mongo.
And we have made it to episode 70 today, and we're going back to NXT. We're going to cover Takeover Dallas from 2016.
We, being that this is the 70th episode, we've covered NXT once. So I feel like there's opportunity to cover a lot. They had a lot of really good takeovers, especially early. Like you think of all the talent that's on the main roster now from NXT from 2016, 2017. This show here was, being that I haven't seen a lot of them, I don't want to say this is the best one, but this one was a damn good show. I will say that.
Definitely this was NXT. This was the peak. This was when, to steal MJF's little hack faction name here, this was the pinnacle of NXT. 2014 to like 2019, they were red hot, and then just they poached too many stars, and then it kind of just became, it's good, but it's not as hot as it was. So yeah, these takeovers, if you've never seen one, you have to watch one. I would say even if you start with this one, this is a great one to start with because you really get to know the product and what they're about.
Well, and the cool thing, we'll get into it when we get going, but the cool thing is pretty much everybody here is on the main roster now.
Yeah.
There's a couple of exceptions, but not much. Pretty much this is a preview of what would be WWE right now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a great show. I had a lot of fun watching it. It's, this is right before WrestleMania 32, and, just reading online, it's actually regarded as probably better than WrestleMania 32. And that's saying something. There's only 5 matches, so it's not a very long card. I think the show itself is only like 2 hours and 50 minutes long. So it's not a really long card, but it shows you that what these guys can do.
Yeah, 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 33 seconds.
I think a lot too, though, with like WrestleMania 32, it had to do with fatigue, because this is when WrestleManias became mega. This is when they went from 4 hours was a long pay-per-view to suddenly we're at like 6.5, 7 hours for the pre-show. And as someone who's not only been in attendance, but, watching the couches, we all have, after like hour 5, you're just almost tapping out. So they put too many filler matches in. So I can see why this show with only 5 matches delivered, because it was 5 matches of nonstop action. So there really wasn't a time to cool down, and then it was over. With WrestleMania, if it's 7 hours, sometimes they have 3, 4, 5 cooldown spots, and you're like, this is a slog to finish through.
Well, and not only that, like you said, it makes it. There was no gimmick stuff on the NXT takeover. There was no like you said, quick squash matches, gimmick. There was nothing. It was just 5 matches.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, not even any stipulations. There was title matches, but there's no stipulations at all. And they all had, all the matches had, a decent amount of time as well.
Yep.
So we'll get right into it. We start things off with a tag team match for the NXT tag team titles. You have American Alpha, which is Chad Gable and Jason Jordan, getting a win over the Revival, which is Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson at the time, in about 15 minutes. Again, I thought this was an excellent way to start the show. These two really good tag teams. It's kind of a shame to see what happened to Jason Jordan later on with his issues.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying the shame was they tried to say that was Kurt Angle's son, or the shame is that he got hurt?
I think both, probably.
Okay, just checking. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page there.
I was going to say, I hope you clarified on that one, because bad story writing or bad luck.
Yeah, it was a little bit of both on that, because sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page as to what was going on there.
But I thought this was a really solid wrestling match. The crowd's really behind it. There was a botch, I think, by Scott Dawson in this, and they were chanting "You effed up" and stuff like
Botchamania.
Botchamania.
That was my favorite one.
It reminded me of like the WC or the ECW shows that we watched. But I was really impressed with this one. I thought it was a solid tag match to start the night off.
Yeah, the fans were on fire this whole night. That's one thing I will say. I think that makes the atmosphere that much better when you have, especially for the wrestlers and for the people there experiencing it, to have that kind of a melting pot throughout the whole show has to make it awesome. And just when I got used to calling them Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, we get Scott Dawson, and it's funny that like I just get used to calling them who they are, and then I'm watching them like shit. It's gonna be in my head again. But,
right.
But it just shows you. I mean, honestly, these two teams, I don't understand how they weren't something on the main roster. I mean, they had little splurts here and there, but I mean, they both should be on the main. I mean, obviously, what they're doing, what FTR is doing now in AEW is amazing. But I don't. This right here is just proof that when you get to WWE, you get the main roster, Vince doesn't know what to do with people. And we've had this conversation from time. I mean, you have the Cesaros of the worlds and stuff like that, and they're red hot in NXT. They get up to WWE, SmackDown, or Raw, and it's a joke. I don't understand why they keep letting this happen.
And I think too, the dynamic of the crowd really shows who the wrestling fans want over, because, back in when we had crowds, a Raw crowd was really tame in comparison to like this crowd, because it's more casuals, it's more families, it's more the John Cena fans, not to stereotype, but it's more a lot of the family friendly, kind of atmosphere. Whereas NXT, this is WrestleMania week. You have fans who are flying in from all around the world, but they're red hot fans. They're basically the Philly fans all merged into one universe. So they're going to Ring of Honors, they're going to other local shows. They're amped up. It's WrestleMania week, and they were letting them hear it with the Botchamania chant, like we said earlier, and they were just on fire. And it makes me miss crowds even more, because it adds another element to wrestling, just because you feel the energy of the crowd, whether you're there or not. You feel the energy, and you know what? I even chatted on the couch, and I was like, I don't care. I'm chanting with them. This is fun. It's like being there. And this match definitely was a way to start. You had, like Roland said, arguably two of the greatest tag teams WWE had in a long time that they either let slip through their fingers or just booked to hell. And if it wasn't for the injury, I bet American Alpha, or as I call them, Team Angle 2.0, would have really just skyrocketed, because they're so talented. I don't even really remember the botch in the match. I just remember how fluid they both were. And a little nod to the Young Bucks feud coming up with their t-shirt, no flips, just fists. My favorite shirt they ever had.
Yeah. You know what I think is funny too, is that you look back on Kurt Angle is Jason Jordan's dad or whatever. It's like, why couldn't you just made it like a Team Angle 2.0? Like, why did you have to break up American Alpha and turn them in? I don't get, I mean, at least now Chad Gable's gone back to actually being a wrestler instead of being Shorty G or whatever. I mean, at least they've let him, and they're going somewhere. I mean, it's better than nothing. But, to look at this match, it's like, man, what did they have that they, for whatever reason, just didn't see? Because it was in this match, you can't tell me that there was two better tag teams on the main roster at this point. Fight me.
You're right.
Name. I'm just saying, name better on the main roster. I mean, you have maybe the New Day and the Usos.
Yeah,
and then that probably it at this point. Was the New Day even a thing? Had they just begun at this point, right? 2016.
Yeah, they were kind of like a heel stable more.
Yeah, I mean, like at this point, literally, like think about it. These two teams should have been on the main roster, killing it.
Right. And imagine, if they didn't have the injury, if you could have kept the Hurt Business together, which is another booking mistake. Oh. For some reason, Vince likes to take tag teams that are over, split them up, and then randomly make them tag teams with other people again. I hate that about WWE. Like, American Alpha was broken up, and now basically it's the Alpha Academy. So it's like you just swap partners. Tucker and Otis. Oh, hey, where's Tucker been? All right, you split them up to basically push them out the door.
Yeah, more or less. And then it's almost like they're doing the reverse booking of AEW, where they're like, oh, AEW's got another faction. Damn it, we don't have a faction anymore.
Yeah,
this is gone. So yeah, that's weird. I don't get it.
And the Hurt Business was doing well. Like, they could have been a mega faction. They could have been dripping in gold, had all the gold, and then I understand giving the New Day the tag team titles. Like, I get that decision, but it could have just fueled them to have a great match at Mania. Instead, they just broke them up, and now Almost, gets his debut. Like, that's not really fair to people who bust their ass all year.
No, and I think they were looking for something to do with AJ. I mean, I think it's the same reason that Kevin Owens is facing Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. They had nothing for him, so they threw him together. And it's too bad. Why can't you have a cross promotional match of AJ against Kevin Owens? Would that be a terrible idea? I mean, you have Baron Corbin showing up on whatever show he wants. You have Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke showing up on, Lana and Naomi showing up on SmackDown last night. It's like they're just bouncing all over the place anyways. What difference would it have made? Instead, they just, like you said, they could have had a banger of a match, the Hurt Business and the New Day at WrestleMania. And I know we're kind of falling off the tracks here, but it just proves that they don't know, their ass from the hole in the ground sometimes.
Yep, it's a shame.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Well, just listen to the fans. I don't understand why they're so afraid to listen to the fans. I mean, you don't have to do it all the time, but if you're ever in doubt, listen to the fans.
Yeah. Our next match is a singles match. It is the NXT debut of Austin Aries. He's going to get a win over Baron Corbin in just under 11 minutes. I think it was another solid match. This would end up being Baron Corbin's last match on NXT. He would actually debut at WrestleMania and win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal there. But again, I think it was another solid match. I think it followed up the tag team match, as best as they could. I don't think it was the best match on the card, but I think it was pretty solid.
No, and there's another guy in Austin Aries that they had, and they didn't really know what to do with. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened with him leaving NXT. I don't know if he was fed up with where he was or whatnot. I don't know. I know that there was some heat there on both sides, so I don't know exactly what happened. I'm not sure we ever will, but Aries is the name that if you followed any bit of wrestling, you know who Austin Aries is from NXT to Ring of Honor to there was thought he was going to go to AEW for a little while, which that didn't pan out. He's back with Impact, but I don't understand. Like I said, how they get these great talents, a la Aries or Shinsuke or whoever, they just don't know what to do with them. Aries came in with a bunch of fanfare, and he was there for what, a year? Was he even there a year? He
just barely, yeah.
Yeah, and he was red hot when he came in. He had a great, and it's funny to see we talk about FTR coming back as the revival in your minds, and then you see Baron Corbin with hair, and you're like, oh, yeah. But it was a great match to follow it up, and that's the thing about this. There was 5 matches. There was no, that was a bad match.
No, I agree. And you hit the nail on the head with, they get guys from other companies. Adam Cole's like one of the only ones I feel like they struck gold on from another company that they've kept red hot since they've kind of taken him from ROH. But Austin Aries, as a wrestler, I'm going to give him credit as a worker. He's one hell of a worker. I know. I just hear his personality from some of the things I read. His personality backstage just tends to rub people the wrong way. So I think that's why they booked him the way they booked him after. Because like you said, he came in red hot. He had just won the titles in Ring of Honor and TNA. So he had like this cool collector gimmick where he was winning championships. But they didn't understand that gimmick. They didn't understand he was trying to be like a Thanos, where like what Kenny Omega is kind of doing right now, where he wants to win all the gold. So it's a great gimmick. Like, I've won gold all around the world. Who's going to stop me? But Vince didn't like him because he wasn't his size, and he rubbed people the wrong way. So I think that's why they put him in that crappy cruiserweight gimmick that he had for a while, where he was basically getting squashed on 205 Live, which is a waste of his talent. And it's sad to see that they push Baron Corbin more than they pushed Austin Aries, because Baron Corbin's good, don't get me wrong, but he's not a main event level star. He's more of a mid-card Mike.
And I think Baron Corbin would be more believable if he dropped this stupid King thing. Like even my wife last night was like, are they going to do another King of the Ring so they can stop calling this guy the King Corbin? I'm like, I don't know. They haven't done one in like 2 years, it seems like. So, but yeah, no, it's pretty bad when you have someone who doesn't really watch all the time complaining about being King Corbin's gimmick for as long as it has been.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Next up is probably the match that is most remembered when you talk about NXT Dallas 2016. It's the debut of Shinsuke Nakamura, and he's going to take on Sami Zayn and get the win in about 20 minutes here. I mean, this was a great match. I mean, this is the epitome of what pro wrestling can be, I think. It was really, really solid. Probably a little predictable in Shinsuke getting the win, being it's its debut. But I think I can look past that because of the performance these guys put on.
Yeah, I feel like it was nice that they had both Aries and Nakamura win their debuts, and they did it differently too. Like Aries didn't put him away in convincing fashion. He kind of did what he had to do to survive. So like it wasn't like these two new guys came in and shocked the beat up the world, and then at least they made the storylines different enough where you weren't like, oh, surprise, both guys won. But yeah, no, this match, for what it was, like Tim said, I think it shows you what wrestling can be and what wrestling should be when it is no gimmicks, no ladder match, this was a pure hard-hitting wrestling match between two fan favorites, really. I mean, this is before Sami Zayn really made his mark on the main roster. I mean, he'd been up a little bit and kind of back and forth a little and whatnot, but this was the height of Sami Zayn. Unfortunately, because again, another guy that they don't really know what to do with. I mean, his character now sucks. If you ask me, he looks like a hobo lives under a bridge somewhere. So it's just, the conspiracy thing. Whatever, it is what it is. But I feel like, and I mentioned about the Kevin Owens thing, like them going back. They're gonna have a great match. They always do, but there's just nothing for them to do. But yeah, Shinsuke came in, with a lot of fanfare. And I think they did the right thing of giving him someone that, they didn't put him in there with Baron Corbin. You know what I mean? They put him in there with somebody that they could showcase what they both could do. And it was a banger. It was a hell of a match.
And it was good because they kind of fell into a good storyline, because at this point, Sami Zayn was like Mr. NXT. He was the guy there because him and Kevin Owens had great matches on there. They had, Finn Balor had great matches. So this is when all these guys were over at NXT. Every week it was, this guy's the top guy, but Sami was always, after he came back from the injury, he was super reliable. He went up, he faced John Cena in the main roster, so he got mega power, came back, so he was just super over. And then Shinsuke, who was, world renowned from New Japan World Wrestling. I mean, even casuals essentially kind of heard his name, even if they didn't see his match. It's kind of like when Tajiri made his debut back in the 90s, this megastar from Japan coming in, and he had the same kind of style. And then he faces Sami Zayn, who's worked with him in the past. So they had great chemistry. It showed. And this was my match of the year, I believe. Like, it was just, holy crap. That's a match. If you want to go back and watch a pure wrestling match, like Tim said, watch this match, because it was hard hitting. It was definitely stiff. I mean, Shinsuke was bleeding at the end of, the match from all the shots he took, and the respect they showed at the end, how hot the crowd was. This is when I think the crowd was the absolute hottest, and they were chanting, "This is wrestling," and I 100% agree. That match, that was fucking wrestling.
Well, and like you said, you think of the names over the years in Japan. You think of guys like Shinsuke that you've heard of. You think of Okada. You think of Kota Ibushi. Those are the names that even if you don't follow, you've at least heard them. Kenta, when he came over and screwed him up and made him Hideo Itami and then let him go back. Well, those are the names that you kind of know, that you've at least heard of, and about who they are. You may not follow them, but like Mongo said, it's one of those names that you've heard of, and you're like, wow, let's see what this guy's got. And he did not fail to deliver. Quick question though, how many world champions does Shinsuke had?
Can't count that low.
Yeah, so like that's the worst part. He comes in red hot. They have that, have him be a killer at NXT, and then he comes up to the main roster and he still hasn't won. I mean, he had his most notable feud was with AJ at WrestleMania, and he lost that match. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just I don't get it.
Yeah, he was in the title picture with Jinder Mahal for a little bit, but he kept getting squashed by Jinder.
Yeah, which is saying something, because Jinder Mahal can't stay healthy. He's made of glass, so I don't. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that they pushed certain guys, like Jinder Mahal. Okay, they pushed him; he was a champion. Like, nobody saw it coming. But what are you doing with these guys that should be champions? The Cesaros, the Shinsuke's, those guys. How do you not give them at least one title run at some point? I'm not saying give it to them for a week. I'm like, let them defend it a few times. Like, they can have great matches.
I think, they just need to take a cue from like what Dynamite Impact do, where every week it's not the same people locking it up in the ring. They mix and match their stars. And then when they find the storylines that work, they roll with them. They don't force the storylines. They let the fans kind of decide the storyline. And I know there's a lot of complaints from the neckbeards out there, like, oh, there's no what wrestling is. Well, you know what? Neither is hiring writers that don't have any wrestling background, because Vince doesn't want that. What wrestling is finding the pulse of the audience and then feeding that pulse, because that's what's going to drive your viewership. There's only so many people that are going to stay sticky to your product, like, loyal to your product for so long before you push them out the door. This match right here showed exactly what would keep me interested, more invested, is give me pure wrestling from two stars that already built themselves up, and let them ride the wave and go up. Don't put them in the crappy gimmicks, like you said, the hobo, where he's paranoid about everything, because that's just a waste of his talent. Because when he gets ticked off and he leaves, a la Andrade, he's gonna be red hot again, and then they're gonna be like, oh, why didn't we have that? You did.
Well, and that's what happens more often than not with these people. These people that are misunderstood or whatever, or don't have a place in WWE, always seem to go off and find either more or the same amount of popularity they had before they went to WWE. So it doesn't hurt that. I mean, they get a payday out of it, so that's one good thing. But I mean, it doesn't hurt their career any, because they've built their career up showing what they can do in other places.
Yeah. Next up is the singles match for the NXT Women's Championship. You have Asuka getting a win over Bayley by technical submission in about 15 and a half minutes. Again, this is a really solid wrestling match. Really enjoyed this one. It was kind of, the beginnings of Asuka's undefeated streak. Bayley was coming in as the champion here. A really solid wrestling match here. And both of these ladies have really made their mark on the main roster too. It's nice to see that this match in NXT, where both have had really successful runs on the main roster as well.
Well, and at this point, who hasn't been at least up on the main roster for this whole show? You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody, there hasn't, other than Aries, is really the, I mean, you went to 205 Live, you want to call that whatever, but like, I mean, other than Aries, pretty much everybody's been up there. And this right here is what women's wrestling is all about.
Mm-hmm.
They had a good storyline going in as Asuka, and like you said, it was the beginning of her undefeated streak. Bayley was still the hugger at this point with the Bayley buddies, inflatable, wacky two men there that, they have to reference every time. But yeah, looks like me falling down a flight of stairs, but flailing everywhere. But this shows you what women's wrestling can be and what women's wrestling is all about. And I'm glad that out of NXT, that's one of the things that has come to the main roster and kind of stuck, is that women can wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that we're able to go back and watch some of these matches, because I think there's some sleeper matches that we've heard of but not seen, or seen parts of. This match was if this had been the only match for you to watch today, for this show, I would have been very excited about it, and probably been able to talk 20 minutes about it, just the match itself. So hats off to both of them. Fantastic match.
I agree. It used to bother me because I watched NXT religiously. The four horsewomen, when they brought three of them, they left Bayley behind NXT because obviously they couldn't completely drain their women's roster. But I feel like she took that as a shot, and she had a chip on her shoulder, because her run when she was solo without Sasha in NXT was probably the best work of Bayley's career, and it culminates with this match, because I think this match was her saying, "Okay, Asuka, now it's your turn," because then Bayley continued to rise and then go to the main roster, but then got kind of destroyed by bad booking again, and it took her until she got her heel gimmick in 2020, which. Hats off to the pandemic era, which has not really been the best era for wrestling. She rolled with a terrible gimmick and she made it work. And it's a damn shame that she's not on WrestleMania, but freaking someone like Logan Paul is. Like I'm
Bad Bunny.
Does not sit well with me at all that Bayley, who busted her ass all year, can't even have one match on WrestleMania, but someone who filmed someone in the Suicide Force, aka Logan Paul, who filmed dead bodies and uploaded it to YouTube for money because he's a human piece of garbage, can be on WrestleMania. That's exactly my ass.
That's exactly what Amber said too. Like I said, she watched a little bit of SmackDown last night. It's exactly what she said. She was like, the guy that showed dead bodies on YouTube, they're gonna have there's no backlash over WWE having him on TV. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't get it. But yeah, same. Kudos to you, Mongo, for that, because that's exactly what Amber said last night to me when we were watching SmackDown. Yeah.
These people bust their ass all year for our entertainment, and you're going to put non-wrestlers in. It's like they purposely create that we don't know what to do. You know what to do because you fill it with crap. Stop filling it with crap and put actual talent up, the deserving talent. I mean, you're paying Aleister Black to sit there and eat Lunchables and catering, and that just doesn't make sense.
Well, and it just goes to show you though, like, no offense to Rhea Ripley, but why did she get a title shot? I like Rhea, don't get me wrong, and I'm not even trying to say that she shouldn't, but
yeah,
like you said, you have somebody like Bayley who's busted her ass for the last year, and she's not even going to be on. Maybe if we're lucky, they'll develop something between now and then, but it doesn't look that way. And what are they going to? It's not going to be meaningful if she is. What is she going to do? Do ding dong hello with Logan Paul on friggin' WrestleMania? Like, it makes no sense. So I totally agree. I'm glad you went there, Mongo, because yeah, you got me fired up about it too. So
I mean, the only thing I could see for her, and I haven't heard anything, is if they're doing that women's battle royal again this year, which I haven't heard if they're doing it or not. But if they are,
they're doing the men's one on SmackDown.
They're doing the
next
men's
week.
one on SmackDown. Yeah.
Who cares? Like that. Then that is exactly when Amber mentioned to me about the King of the Ring thing. She's like, "What are they ever going to do? They're doing this gimmick thing. Are they ever going to do the King of the Ring again?" It's like, yeah, I don't know.
And way to take away WrestleMania paydays from your guys by throwing on SmackDown. Oh, we don't want to pay them for being, for busting their ass all year. It was already bad enough they were throwing this gimmick battle royal, but we're gonna waste Ali on the Friday SmackDown before WrestleMania instead of at least squeezing him on WrestleMania. At least let him compete at WrestleMania.
Well, and Retribution all of a sudden is going to be back too, according to the picture for that. So like they weren't, they turn on Ali and then all of a sudden they're at the. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know.
We need to get Bruce Pritchard some ginkgo biloba because he forgets things.
Clearly, I don't understand. I just don't get it. And I know we could talk about this for days. It's just for the things they did right this year by not having Goldberg and Brock Lesnar on WrestleMania, they screwed up by not having Bayley and having stuff that make more sense. Like no offense to the Shane McMahon Braun Strowman thing. Like I get they're trying to have Shane have a match and whatever, but why does that need to be in a cage? Like I mean, I don't. It's why does Braun Strowman, like I know I'm tired of you running. Okay, well then chase him. I don't know. It doesn't. It makes the whole storyline kind of weird. They threw it together so quickly, and it's just and there's no time for like Mongo said. There's no time for Bayley, who carried your company for 6 months last year when there was no fans. Come on.
No, I think that's what this card shows, and I think that's kind of why we fallen off the rails a little bit. But it's because it correlates. Like, look what they had in 2016. Mm-hmm. Look at this banger of a card. There's not one bad match we've had so far. There's not one match where we're in like, meh. Like it's been all gold. And if we had this right now, wrestling would be at its hottest it's ever been. But WWE just likes to continually go up and down like a roller coaster.
Well, then the worst part is too, you have storylines that just get scrapped because Vince doesn't like the way someone's hair's cut that day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, nope, don't want him on TV. Nope. It's like this is the blow off. We've been working on this for 2 months. Nope, forget about it. What do you mean Lana's married to Bobby Lashley? No, that didn't happen. Stupid shit like that. It just NXT here, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up Triple H's ass either, but NXT right here at least shows you that someone has a vision of where wrestling should be versus where Vince and whoever Vince and you can say Bruce, you can say whoever you want. They're not going in the right direction. They're just not.
Made it to our main event, which is a singles match for the NXT Championship. Finn Balor is the champion. He's going to retain over Samoa Joe in 16 and a half minutes. I must admit, I was really excited to see this one just based on paper. I thought it was going to be a really good match, and it was. It was a solid match. To me, though, it just the stoppage for the blood, like 10,000 times in the match, really took away for it for me. I love the chants, though, by the fans, like "Let Joe bleed" and stuff like that. I thought that was great. But
PG sucks.
Yeah, PG sucks.
Yeah.
The continuous stoppage of the match really took it away from me because if it wasn't for that, I mean, this would have been a showstopper because it was a solid match as it was.
Yeah, and you're not on TV, so why do you have to worry about blood?
Yeah,
it's a pay-per-view event, and you're worried about somebody bleeding. Clearly, you check on him once. You say, okay, he's got a bad cut. He seems to be with it. You let him go. That's all you have to do. Like, why I don't, during the match at certain points, do you maybe throw him a towel so you can wipe the blood out of his eyes? Yeah, but you don't have to stop and have the guy come in and check him and put more Vaseline on him and try. It's like he got cut open. It's
not a boxing match.
It was like literally, it was like 10 rounds, Tim. Like, 2 minutes, ding, go sit in the corner. Like, yeah, and it took away from the match, unfortunately, like Tim said, because this match had so much heat coming in to then have Joe get busted open in the first 12 seconds of the match to then have them have to stop every 2 minutes to make sure he wasn't going to bleed out, which it wasn't even. I mean, it was a pretty good gusher, but even as the match went on, it slowed down enough to where it was manageable. So I don't know.
And this was right around the same time that Brock Lesnar destroyed Randy Orton the hard way at SummerSlam with his elbow shots. And they let Randy Orton basically sit out there and just get demolished. So they didn't care then. But here they care about something that Samoa Joe is probably pissed off because he has wrestled some insane matches. I've seen him with some color that is just disgusting. So he was probably pissed off too, because it's killing his momentum, because him and Finn had one of the greatest NXT rivalries in recent memory. And they had some great, and this match was like a great example of that. And to stop it every like 10 seconds, it felt like are you good? Oh, yes, I'm good. Let me go. And it just, you could feel like it just kept pushing the momentum down. Like Tim said, it got red hot, and then it would kind of stop. You're like, seriously?
Well, and all you're doing is giving time for Balor to recover.
Mm-hmm.
So like anything that Joe had done, you're just giving him 30 seconds to a minute to recover. So it felt like you pressed the pause button at home, like you had to go to the bathroom, so you pause the show. You're like, oh, I'll be back, like, and then you come back. That's what it seemed like. Unfortunately, still two great talents, and it was still a great match for what it was. But unfortunately, it didn't live up to what it should have, because they played it too safe with the blood. I mean, like I said, check on him once, make sure he's still with it, make sure he's doesn't have a concussion or whatever, and let him go.
Right. Like, we're not advocating not making sure the worker is safe. It's just weird to essentially stop the illusion, to use that term, for some things and not others, because then it shows, okay, well, what do you really care about then? Because was something wrong? Was Finn hurt and they were masking it? I don't remember him being hurt this time. I mean, this was when Finn was white hot. This was when his demon gimmick was one of the best gimmicks going. And this entrance, I mean, can we talk about how cool that entrance was with the chainsaw and everything? And every year he just came up with another entrance and found a reason, and the demon's still undefeated, thank God, because it's a cool gimmick. And that's something they could have built up towards the Fiend. Have Finn Balor versus the Fiend, they would have had money with the demon versus the Fiend. But instead, they did Finn Balor
for a little bit. Like, they did that for a little bit, like, but they got rid of it. Like, they let it happen, and that was like, but like you said, they don't know what to do with these people, and it's unfortunate. So that's what this show showed me, is that they have these talents. So what do you have? 12 talents all together on this show. They all could go, and almost every one of them is on the main roster, and nobody knows what the hell to do with them.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Finn had to go back to NXT, and he's having another great run because, look, he's going somewhere where his talents are being used properly, his character's being used properly. Adam Cole doesn't want to leave NXT, and can you blame him?
Johnny Gargano's the same way.
Yep. Like we said last NXT show, they don't want to leave because they know they're going to go up to the main roster and flounder. Yeah. And also, can we get Tyson some Just for Men for his beard, because he's only my age, and it makes me feel really subconscious when his beard is like Santa Claus at this point. Like, you're too young to be that gray. Get some Just for Men. Like, I'm not trying to insult him because he would destroy me in 2 seconds, but like, please.
So that is our rundown. NXT Dallas or NXT Takeover Dallas 2016. Overall, really solid show. I'm going to give this a pretty high rating, probably in the 8.5 to 9 range. It was really solid. Definitely had a lot of fun. Definitely recommend it. I would recommend watching the whole card. I can't just pick one match to.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got 2 hours to kill and you're wondering what to do, check it out. I mean, obviously you won't be able to after tomorrow, because the network's going away. So if you listen to this Saturday and you're looking for something to do Saturday night, throw it on, because it'll be gone, and we don't know. So
I know, Peacock's got to come down with a hammer. Vince loves cock, remember?
Yeah, Vince loves cock. Well, and here's the worst part too, right? So you already have Peacock like censoring stuff too. So like, what from the Attitude Era is Peacock in a show? Nothing. Nothing. From 97 to like 03 is just going to be gone. There's going to be nothing from those like 6 years.
I do want to bring this up, though, because we do have at least one person in the UK that listens to us, and thank you very much for that. You still have access to the WWE Network, so you can watch.
You lucky bastard. I would gladly pay my $10.99 or $9.99 a month rather to keep the network.
What's that in pounds? I wonder what that in pounds is.
I don't know. Well, maybe if the person from UK listens, they can fill us in.
They can let us know.
Yeah. Find us on Facebook. Send us a DM. Let us know. And what flag are they going to put? What flag are they putting above corporate? Is it going to be just a giant rooster? Because the whole peacock thing, peacock flag.
And Fred is going to make a comeback.
Like you texted yesterday. Don't forget, the exclusive home of WrestleMania is only on Peacock. That's the phrase they're beating to death.
That was like when they first came out of the network. It was like $9.99. It's only $9.99. Damn it, it's $9.99. Well, now the Peacock thing is exclusive home of WrestleMania. The only place you can watch it is Peacock, the exclusive home. But so the persons that watch us in the UK, let us know how much you love the network still, and rub it in our faces that we have Peacock, and about that. So,
Well, speaking of 9s, that's what I'd give this.
Yeah.
Give this a 9
Yep.
out of 10.
yeah, 8.5, 9 is exactly where it would go. And the only reason it wasn't a little bit higher was because of the stoppages in that last match. It could have been 9.5, 10 if they let that match go.
Agreed.
Absolutely. So, coming up for you guys next week is WrestleMania season. We're going to give you our predictions and preview of WrestleMania. Obviously, it's 2 nights this year, but we'll run down both nights for you guys next week. So looking forward to doing that for you guys.
Yeah, I think the safe thing to do, we discussed this in our group chat, is to preview WrestleMania next week and then recap WrestleMania the following week. And then we'll have to go from there because, like we just discussed, Peacock's taking stuff away and not adding stuff. So we might have to, get real topical week to week for a little while until we get settled into the Peacock era.
So that is coming up for you guys next week. We'll be back next Saturday at 5. Thanks for tuning in. Until next week, I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Fulis.
And I'm Mongo.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling Past and Present.
I hope you're all having a nice day.